So a couple of years ago, I said that the very best place to be investing in real estate was the island of Puerto Rico. And now we're a couple years down the road, and I still stand by that the very best place for you to be investing your dollars into real estate, I believe, is the island of Puerto Rico. And I've got a whole new set of reasons that I didn't have 2 or 3 years ago when we first made this video. What we look for in a market that we're going to go to and that we're going to invest in is whether or not there are other real estate investors there investing their dollars and improving the area. So you see this and you can look at this in your area, wherever you are in the US. There are parts of town that you see real estate investors and developers starting to spend money. And when you see this, it's a really good idea for you to start looking for deals around them. So maybe you don't have the deep pockets like we came to the island of Puerto Rico and the Paulsons were already here. Now, I didn't have the money to go in and do the same kind of investments that they were doing, but I came with the thesis that I could buy in the areas where they were investing in the much smaller projects and the things that they wouldn't touch, and it worked out really, really well. So if we could look back 6 years and look at that thesis and say, did that work at all or not? I can tell you with a resounding yes that worked really, really well for us. And now we're doing bigger projects than we've ever done in our lives because we've had a series of successes. And right now, today, I wouldn't change anything about where we're investing. So I still invest back home in Orlando, Florida. And the reason that I do that is because I'm seeing now, for the first time in several years, really good deals. So we left Orlando because things kind of got crappy. The dollars wouldn't go very far. There wasn't a big return. Like, the best we could do was to make 20% on a value add real estate play. And guys, that's not real sexy. It was hard for us to put our money to work. So now, 6 years later, we've been doing this for a while in Puerto Rico, and I still believe and stand by that this is the place where we're going to invest most of our dollars because our dollar goes much further here than it does back in the States. Our return on investment is way up here. Compared to Florida, it's kind of down here. The floor for an investment in Puerto Rico, so like the worst we're gonna do, is actually still above like the ceiling in Orlando, Florida. If in Orlando, Florida, now we can do a deal where we make 30 or 40% as a ceiling, that's sort of our floor even to this day in Puerto Rico. So the idea that we're going with is that we can look at an area and we can see other people investing the dollars. And when we see that, we know that the water is warm. We think that it's safe to do that. So we kind of maybe paved a way for some of you guys to come to the island of Puerto Rico because we've been doing it now for 6 years and we've had a bunch of success. And now we're seeing more and more people get into the similar kind of investments that we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. And we're going to continue to do these investments. And I said earlier, we're investing in bigger and bigger things, but we're still not, by any stretch of the imagination, as big as some of the big players. In fact, there's an announcement that just came like 2 days ago where I saw an article where these guys are going to invest $2 billion in the town of Cabo Rojo. So we know Cabo Rojo pretty well. We own one project there. We own a beachfront resort that got walloped by Hurricane Maria, and we've kind of been struggling with this property for several years now. We had to take it through a foreclosure sale. We've been kind of in permitting hell and trying to figure out what we're going to do with it, what its highest and best use is. And ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is if somebody else is going to come and invest that kind of money, I feel like that really gives me courage and gives me an incentive to try and double down on my efforts to invest back into this project, which is a beautiful oceanfront project. It used to be a 30-room resort, and then we bought another property right next to it. So we easily can have 45 to 60 rooms inside of this hotel in Cabo Rojo. And by the way, some big players about to come and drop a couple $1 billion in the neighborhood. So how good is that, right? These are just tips, guys. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Give this video a like. Let me know you like this kind of content. I'm sort of just riffing here a little bit. I'm trying to explain, what do you look for? Why do you feel safe? And you can take it down to a smaller neighborhood. Earlier today, I went and met Raul Villanueva to look at a value add property. It's 2 buildings in Rio Piedras, and we've already done 4 projects in Rio Piedras. So we've seen this area, this whole area of Rio Piedras near the University of Puerto Rico, sort of be on the come up, and lots of investment is going on the street where we've been buying properties. And so we went and looked at these 2 buildings, and while I was there checking out this wreck of a building, I wish I had taken some video, but I didn't do it. But while I was there looking at this wreck of a building, and I'm thinking to myself, this is actually a project that we would do. I didn't love the price point, but what I really loved about it was that as I stood in front of these buildings, to the left, there was a building being being renovated by another real estate investor. And to the right, 2 doors down, there was a building being renovated by a real estate investor. So, and then across the street, like directly across the street, there's a building that just finished up being renovated by a real estate investor. So when you see that, when you see an entire street get renovated and you can purchase something at the low valuation because it hasn't been renovated yet. And guys, keep in mind, I look at everything from a value add mindset, right? Like, so my idea is that we go in and we buy this severely distressed property. We bring it up to its highest and best use, which in this case would just be regular long-term housing, but it's a train wreck. So we would rip it apart, we would put it back together, and we would turn these 2 buildings into about 15 apartments. And they would fit perfectly for the college kids to rent or for the families in the area to rent. And we would just do the regular long-term rental, buy and hold, get to passive income as soon as we can. I don't actually think this one will be for me, but it's a great project for somebody. So it's not for me because I've already got 3 other projects going in the area. And I think I've invested for now enough money in this one particular neighborhood. But I do think that if you want a great project on a 15-unit apartment building and that's your idea of long-term rental and play, then you should contact Raul Villanueva. We've got another video that's coming out either before this one or after this one where he's going to give you his contact information. But he's with Remax. He's easy to find, and he's got this new listing, and it's a deal. It's definitely a deal, guys. If we weren't hot and heavy into the deals of the other 4 projects that we've got where we're doing massive investments and renovations, we'd probably jump on it. So if it's still available 4, 5, or 6 months from now, we'll probably circle back and see if we can buy it. And I have used this really probably for the entire time that I've been in business. I like to look at neighborhoods and I like to look for the comps of a house. So let's say a house is for sale in a neighborhood. Now I want to know what's it going to sell for. I want to find comps in the neighborhood where they've been bought and then fixed up and then sold. And when I can see that, I know that that means that other real estate investors are buying houses in that neighborhood. And it gives me courage. It gives me hope. They're the best kind of comps when you're doing a buy, fix, and sell. The very best comp that you can have is when something is bought way down here at a low valuation, and then it's renovated, and then you see 6 months later that it sells at twice the price that they originally bought it for, and you're able to buy way down here, you know that this is a great investment. So looking at neighborhoods and looking at areas to see what the comps look like on potential properties and seeing if you see people buy, fix, and sell, buy, fix, and sell. When you see this, that's a really good indication that that's going to be a neighborhood that you want to focus on and that you want to find those distressed houses. You want to do the value add, bring them up to their highest and best use, and then sell them at the market, and you've got great comps to do it with. All right, so other than just following the news and following the trend, what other things can you look for to kind of identify these things ahead of time? And a few that we've used over the years to look at neighborhoods to try and decide that we're going to invest is what's going on politically, what's happening in the town. So going back 15 years in Orlando, Florida, there was an announced desire by the city of Orlando to improve the Paramore district. And so the Paramore district was historically kind of the rough part of town. It was downtown Orlando, but it was a tough of town. And the city was going to put a new soccer stadium there, which they've done, and we have a professional soccer team. They were going to put in the new Magic Stadium, the basketball stadium there in this area. And so this stuff came out, and we knew that it was coming. So what we do, we went in and bought some tax deed houses in this area, turned them into rental properties, renovated them up, got them rented out, and just sat there and waited on them. And so now those properties around these areas where they've done all of this investment and they've really improved the area, they've skyrocketed in price, right? Like, so we were buying these properties back 15 years ago, around 2010, we were buying these properties for like nothing, for like $5,000-$6,000 a piece, and they were block houses. And the reason that we were doing it, one, I like buying $5,000 and $6,000 block homes pretty much anywhere, and I don't need much more encouragement than that. But I had this idea that the area was going to improve over the years, and it has, and it's improved quickly. And so now you see new houses being built in the area. You definitely see that the city has spent a ton of money. So this kind of came true, and it worked really well. So you guys can do that. This happens in every city USA. So just follow the politics, follow what the city is telling you that they're going to do. And when you see it, jump on it. So here's another one. This is one that I've used several times to my benefit. In Orlando, Florida, we've watched the big builders developers go and buy up tracts of land and start building new housing. And when they do that, that will, believe it or not, bring up the price of housing around those neighborhoods. So you might have a neighborhood that's been sitting here for 15, 20, 30 years, and it really hasn't been moving upward. It hasn't been trending upward. But Pulte Homes comes in and buys 50 acres and decides that they're going to build 25 to 50 or 100 houses inside of this new neighborhood, and they're going to sell those houses for a higher price point. And when they do it, we know that it's a good idea to go to these older neighborhoods, buy these houses and fix them up. And why do we do that? We know that the area is about to improve because someone's going to drop a ton of money there. So anytime you start to see these big developers come in and buy up tracts of land so that they can build neighborhoods, buying up the old houses and fixing them up there, that's a good idea. This is something that's been tried and proven by way more people than just me.